A barn is destroyed and a home badly damaged following a fire in Augusta. Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Beth Jones. Firefighters say the cloud of smoke could be seen well before crews arrived on scene. Our Grace Blanchard was there and has details.
A second alarm was struck as crews raced to a fully involved structure fire on Church Hill Road in Augusta Monday morning.
While en route, it was confirmed that it was actually a working building fire. As we even got closer, we could see it, obviously coming up upon it. Ended up being a barn fire that had extended into the house.
Augusta Fire Chief Dave Groder says nobody was hurt. He says additional tankers from multiple departments were requested due to the lack of hydrants nearby.
So when we got here, we have our 2 trucks at 2,000 gallons of water, and once that's gone, we're done until they show up.
The fire also began to spread to the field, requiring assistance from Maine Forest Rangers who dropped water from a helicopter. We spoke with the homeowner briefly off camera. He shared that he and his family lived there for more than a decade, but recently moved and had plans to rent it out, so no animals were in the barn. He said, quote, "Praise the Lord, no one got hurt."
Both the house and the barn are considered a total loss. The cause of the fire is under investigation. In Augusta, Grace Blanchard, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
In other news tonight, the push for affordable housing continues across the state with some progress showing at a site in southern Maine. Governor Mills visited the site of an affordable housing project in Portland today that will eventually yield 60 new units. Leaders said funding the project was complicated and involved everything from affordable housing tax credits as well as loans and federal, county, and city funding, which helped make the property possible. Governor Mills says she has recently signed related legislation.
Well, I was very pleased the other day to sign the extension of the Maine affordable housing tax care. I think another 10 years. So it'll help projects like this one all around the state, including rural rental and others.
Meanwhile, current Secretary of State Shenna Bellows released a new ad in her run for governor. Bellows is one of 5 Democratic candidates now running for Maine governor. She made headlines during the primaries in 2024 when she fought to restrict President Trump's name from the Republican primary ballot. She cited his involvement in the insurrection on January 6, 2021, saying that disqualified him from running for office. Ultimately, the Supreme Court ruled that only Congress, not states, can enforce that provision against federal candidates. However, in Bellows' new commercial, she continues to take aim at the Trump administration.
I'm hearing from people 2 things. They want someone who will stand up to protect our democracy and fight back against abuses of power by Donald Trump. And they want someone who will fight for the working class to lift up our friends and neighbors.
The video is in part a reference to her telling the administration to jump in the Gulf of Maine over other issues. Bellows is Maine's 50th Secretary of State and the first female to serve in that role. With just over a month until the primary election, candidates are making their final pushes to win over voters. But one candidate is attempting what political experts say is nearly impossible. As our Alex Schley tells us, Andrea LaFlamme is looking to secure the Democratic nomination as a relatively unknown write-in candidate.
I think I am the best person to unite Maine because I see people. I'm not excluding anyone, and that's really what we need in a leader if we're going to beat Susan Collins.
A union president, teacher, and a healthcare professional, Andrea LaFlamme has worn many hats, but many know her from 2022 when she wrote messages in chalk outside Susan Collins' Bangor home, calling for the senator to protect women's reproductive rights.
After she washed the chalk off the sidewalk and called the police and everything that followed, it became clear that she not only didn't want to hear from me, but wanted to silence me.
LaFlamme says that's the moment she decided Mainers needed change. In June 2025, LaFlamme filed with the FEC, but says a sudden health emergency forced her to suspend her campaign.
Fast forward to February, I'm feeling better. I'm still not loving what I'm seeing for the cast of candidates. So I decided, now or never, I'm going to relaunch my campaign.
LaFlamme is now running as a write-in candidate in the June 9th primary election. Political analyst Mark Brewer says in order to win, lesser-known candidates like LaFlamme must first build name recognition.
If someone's not going to vote for you if they don't know who you are, they don't really have much of a chance, unless, of course, they can build their name recognition.
LaFlamme argues the current political landscape may work in her favor, pointing to ranked choice voting in what she describes as division surrounding Graham Plattner and Governor Mills.
They can both be really divisive with certain groups of people that they've slighted in the past, either through their actions or through the things that they've said.
Whether this will be enough to break through in a crowded primary will ultimately be decided by voters on June 9th. I'm Alex Shalai reporting for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Husson University honored a beloved and well-known graduate this afternoon, dedicating a plaque in his honor. Bob O'Keefe graduated from Husson in 1967 with a bachelor's degree in business administration and went on to work in sales for numerous organizations. More recently, though, he became known for his dedication to the Husson softball program, frequently attending games and getting to know the team players. He played a central role in the construction of the softball field, the hitting pavilion, which bears his wife Fran's name, and a $2.4 million gift from his estate to the university. Well, today, a commemorative plaque was unveiled at the very spot where O'Keefe often stood, offering his support.
He remembers, what position you play. He knows your strengths and your weaknesses probably better than you know them. But that's kind of what really makes Bob admirable and kind of makes it really special for all of us players, having someone who invested in us through the years.
Raymond said she's glad they chose to put that plaque in what she called Bob's special spot. She says his support was always uplifting, regardless of how the games turned out. Last year, Isabel St. Cyr made history as the first transgender woman to compete in the Miss Maine USA pageant. Isabel is returning to the stage this year to compete again. A fundraising email says the now 25-year-old is returning to the stage, quote, with renewed determination as she prepares to compete for the Miss Maine USA 2026 title. The email says St. Cyr finished as a finalist in a national pageant in March and is feeling more motivated than ever. The Miss Maine USA pageant happens on June 21st. Well, good news for those who frequent Mount Desert Island. The Island Explorer is opening up 3 of its routes, serving Acadia National Park early. For the first time in its history, the beloved bus service will open its Gateway Center, Loop Road, and Schoodic routes beginning May 20th. The news comes after Acadia National Park's busiest year on record, with more than 4 million visitors coming to see the sights in 2025. Other Island Explorer routes will operate from June 23rd through October 12th. For more information, you can head to the Island Explorer Facebook page. Alrighty, folks, let's pause now and take a first look at our forecast.
All right, thank you. Old Town Redemption now offering a 10% bonus on your returnables and a monthly $100 drawing. Let's take a look at temperatures again. Take it in, right? 72 here in Bangor today, 71 Millinocket. We'll take it. Tomorrow, probably upper 60s across the area, followed by some rain showers and clouds back in the forecast for us on Wednesday. Not a lot of clouds on here right now, though. Lots of clear skies across the region. Will give us those clear skies tonight. There could be some dense fog in there, though, tonight, likely by tomorrow morning. And then this is our next worry, not for tomorrow, but for Wednesday into Thursday. Likely rounds of rain coming our way then, and somewhat cooler temperatures once again, with highs back near 50 or so. But going forward, though, Futurecast shows clear skies out there for tonight. We'll have a clear day for tomorrow, and then increasing clouds tomorrow evening, and likely giving us a couple of showers are back in the forecast by later on Wednesday, and definitely on Thursday as well. Our forecast then for tonight, though, is mostly clear skies with low temperatures down in the 30s. Your full forecast is coming up.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, a local veteran is getting his roof replaced thanks to the work being done at Maine Veterans Project. And spring is here. Greenhouses are buzzing and shoppers are ready to dig in. We'll have those stories and more local news when we come back.
Are your basement walls bowing, crumbling, or failing? Hi, I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basementy. Our Stable Lock wall system offers a patented, affordable, and permanent solution to save your foundation walls. It stabilizes, fills voids, and structurally repairs, leaving a new smooth surface. All the strength of new walls. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems today for all things basementy.
Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center is your destination for all things green, and yellow, and pink, and red, and, well, you'll understand when you visit us. Plants aren't just another department here. They're our whole world. From gardening classes to our expansive greenhouses, we cultivate a community of budding and seasoned gardeners alike. Professional landscapers turn to us too. Shouldn't you? Sprague's Nursery and Garden Center, growing with you since 1947.
Nothing runs like a Deere.
And nobody knows better than our loyal customers.
Since 1994, our family has proudly sold and serviced John Deere products. Our customers know that quality and reliability set John Deere apart.
And right now at Greenway, take advantage of this offer.
Get 0% APR fixed rate financing for 60 months on a John Deere compact utility tractor with a 6-year powertrain warranty.
For more offers, go to greenwayequipment.com.
See the Smith Brothers today at Greenway Equipment Sales, Ellsworth and Bangor.
You're already getting squeezed because Susan Collins voted with Donald Trump to raise healthcare costs and raise insurance premiums. Now, Susan Collins voted to give Trump a blank check for his war in Iran.
Gas and oil prices are on the rise as the conflict in Iran continues.
The war in Iran is impacting the global economy and raising the prices you pay.
Tell Susan Collins to stop supporting Trump's wars. Mainers can't afford it.
A Navy veteran in Orrington has a new roof over his head tonight thanks to a partnership between local organizations. This afternoon, Smith Builders and the Maine Veterans Project teamed up to make it happen, giving the home a much-needed upgrade. Organizers say the old roof was the original one to the house, installed more than 50 years ago and long overdue for replacement. Smith Builders employee Zachary Christian says this is the most rewarding part of the job, thanks to Roofs for Heroes, a partnership between local businesses that focuses on giving back to veterans.
We're all part of the community. It's not all about business. It's not all about just making that extra dollar. Sometimes it's about helping the people who've helped us out. And that's the big thing with veterans. You know, they did a lot of work to help us out and help out our community. It's just our small way of giving back.
Well, if you or someone you know is a veteran in need of a new roof, you can apply for Roofs for Heroes online, and we'll have a link on our website, foxbangor.com. A new program at Togus Veterans Hospital is helping Maine veterans avoid fighting any of their post-service battles alone, including battles with substance use disorder. Our Callie Warren takes us to the brand new Togus Residential Rehabilitation Treatment Program.
My recovery must come first, so everything that I love in my life does not have to come last.
Maine veterans have already sacrificed. Togus VA Hospital is making sure they don't have to keep making sacrifices to recover from substance use disorder.
I know with all the hardworking, caring people here at Togus, many veterans like myself stand a fighting chance against their affliction. With their help and my hard work, I am 960 days sober today and living proof that recovery is possible.
A new residential treatment facility officially opened on Saturday, ensuring that those who have already done their duties can have a place to recover with dignity.
We have been, focused on this day, but also May 4th when we accept our first veteran for so long. We're so thrilled to open the doors and bring veterans in and have them getting care with us.
It will have residential treatment, it has therapy rooms, it has recreational rooms, it has places for families to gather, and it's going to make such a difference to Maine veterans who have these challenges.
Veterans say many have faced accessibility barriers by having to seek out-of-state care away from their loved ones.
A lot of them had to travel to Massachusetts or further. So having this treatment facility and these beds so close to home is really going to make a difference.
The facility, built entirely by New England construction personnel, offers 12 beds, kitchen areas, access to around-the-clock care, and most importantly, a helping hand.
There's help here, and now it's closer to home.
In Augusta, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
As the war in Iran continues, so too does the upward trend in gas prices. Along with 38 other states in the U.S., average gas prices in Maine have risen this week, 22.2 cents per gallon to be exact. The price per gallon now averaging $4.19. That's 37 cents per gallon higher than a month ago and $1.21 a gallon higher than a year ago. Meanwhile, the national average price of diesel has decreased roughly 9 cents compared to a week ago, standing at $5.40 per gallon. Patrick DeHaan, head of petroleum analysis for GasBuddy, said, quote, oil prices have been climbing again as markets react to renewed geopolitical tensions and the cancellation of talks between the U.S. and Iran. As a result, gasoline prices are set to rise further this week, with diesel expected to follow. Well, switching gears now, spring has arrived across the state and local greenhouses are seeing a surge of customers ready to get their hands dirty after a long winter. Our Alexa Kennedy shares more.
At Woolly Ridge Greenhouse, owner Sherry Allen says even snowy conditions couldn't keep people away on opening day. She says many locals are eager to refresh their yards and embrace gardening as both a hobby and a practical investment.
Everyone's just starving for color and get out and work in your yards. And with the price of gas, no one's going to be able to go very far for vacations this year. So, I mean, they're going to make the yards beautiful.
At Evermay Nursery, new owner John Welton similarly reports a busy opening week and growing excitement among customers.
Every April, people are anxious to get their hands dirty and planning things out. You know, it's been kind of cold and rainy this month, so this past weekend with the sun really brought folks out.
Both Allen and Welton say they've seen a growing number of younger customers.
Young people are really getting in, having so much fun. They come in here and they're like dancing up and down the aisles going, oh, can I do this? Is this all right? It's like, yes, do it all.
I think it's a bit of a timeless interest, really. So it makes perfect sense that there's people of all ages interested.
Both owners say that rising costs have led to slight price increases, but demand remains strong.
Well, we're hoping that the trend that we have seen from COVID continues, which is that there's just a general increase in the number of people interested in growing plants and gardening.
Allen adds that supporting local businesses remains important despite rising costs.
Your money stays in Maine. It's just important to support your neighbors, support your businesses.
Alexa Kennedy in Orrington and Orono, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Coming up on the 10 p.m. news on Fox 22, we'll have your national headlines.
See the USA in your Chevrolet.
There's a Chevy for everyone to see the USA. SUVs that put more within reach. Affordable EVs that open up the map. And trucks that never compromise.
Right now, get $500 cash allowance on this 2026 Chevy Trax. Or well-qualified buyers can get 2.9% financing on all 2026 Trax models. Visit your Maine Chevy dealers.
When I was 29, I was diagnosed with cancer. And I think part of research and advocating for more money for cancer research allows survivors to have more time. Senator Collins supports and advocates for more funding for cancer research so that people can have better treatments, they can have better outcomes, and therefore they can live better lives as cancer survivors. Thank you, Senator Collins. Continue fighting for our families.
At Toyota, we believe longevity is the true measure of affordability. The longer something lasts, the further your money goes. So with Toyota being the longest lasting brand, your money goes the furthest. Now, during our longest lasting value event, you can get $3.99 for $72 on an affordable fuel-sipping all-wheel drive Camry hybrid with a captivating interior and 2 years no-cost maintenance. See your New England Toyota dealer, your hybrid all-wheel drive headquarters. Toyota, let's go places.
Let's kick it. The I Love the 90s tour is back, featuring Vanilla Ice, Montel Jordan, Tone Loc,
so be my queen if you know what I mean. Let's do the wild ride.
Color Me Bad, and Young MC. It's the return of the I Love the 90s tour, Friday, May 29th, Cross Insurance Center. Tickets on sale now at Ticketmaster.com or the Cross Insurance Center box office. I Love the 90s tour live.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Cole Allen is facing serious charges relating to what officials say was an attempted assassination of President Trump. The California teacher accused of blowing past security at Saturday's White House Correspondents Association dinner and shooting a Secret Service agent He made an appearance in court today. Fox's David Spunt is at the Justice Department with the latest.
No mistake, this was an attempted assassination.
Cole Allen, the 31-year-old from Southern California who authorities say stormed through a security checkpoint at the White House Correspondents Association dinner on Saturday, is also facing charges of transportation of a firearm in interstate commerce and discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence. Authorities say Allen, transporting weapons he purchased in California, took a train from California to Washington, D.C. last week. Fox is told he checked into the Washington Hilton Hotel one day before the dinner and was armed with a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, a .38 semi-automatic, and had 3 knives when he made his move.
We are investigating this matter fully. We will apply the law fairly, and we will ensure that accountability is swift and certain.
According to the criminal complaint, at 8:40 p.m. on Saturday evening, Allen, knowing the president and first lady were in the ballroom, approached security and ran through the magnetometer, as seen on this surveillance footage. The complaint alleges Secret Service heard a loud gunshot. One officer shot in the chest, but was wearing a bulletproof vest and survived.
We also should recognize what did not happen. Law enforcement did not fail.
FBI agents on the ground in California, Maryland, and Connecticut talking to Allen's family members and friends. Fox has told his sister came forward after the shooting and claimed her brother had a history of making, quote, radical statements. His brother reportedly received a manifesto. The Justice Department also focused on deterring future attacks.
Let this be a message to anyone who thinks that Washington, D.C. is the place to act out political violence. And if you are willing to do so with a firearm and cross state lines, we will find you, we will track your steps.
If convicted, Cole Allen could spend the rest of his life behind bars. Fox News is told more charges are expected in the case. In Washington, David Spunt, Fox News.
Meanwhile, the justices on the Virginia Supreme Court are weighing arguments heard today about the redistricting referendum that was approved by voters last week. That case playing out as the nation's highest court makes a major ruling on a remapping effort in Texas. Fox's Mark Meredith reports.
Tonight, the Supreme Court is approving Texas Republicans' plans for a new congressional map this fall. The justices overturning a district court which had blocked new maps, likely giving Republicans 5 new House districts. The judgment coming the same day Virginia's Supreme Court heard oral arguments over whether last week's voter referendum giving lawmakers power to redraw congressional maps was legal to begin with. Conservatives argue proper procedures were ignored, rushing the measure onto a ballot.
We think after listening to the oral arguments and certainly looking at the briefs, the law is very clear. The Constitution was not followed, and we hope that the court will rule accordingly.
Democrats argue the measure was legal, proper procedures followed, and that striking it down would overrule voters who passed a redistricting effort by nearly 94,000 votes, a more narrow outcome than some expected.
I think that as the justices recognized, the people had all that the Constitution requires and more.
The court is expected to rule soon, with Virginia primaries set for August. If the referendum stands, Republicans could likely see their House delegations shrink from 4 districts to 1. President Trump, who supports redistricting in Republican-led states, says he's glad the case is before the court.
Let's see what happens in the courts, but the courts have actually accepted it. That's a big move. So it may be ruled. It's a very bad thing for our country.
Democrats say Trump created the chaos by encouraging Texas to redraw its maps.
We need to fight back, and that's what they're doing in Virginia. I applaud them. Let's hope the Virginia Supreme Court upholds what the voters in Virginia did.
Florida lawmakers are back at work this week in Tallahassee for a special session to consider redrawing congressional maps. The changes they're looking at create 4 new Republican-leaning districts, with eliminating Democratic seats in the central and southern part of the state. In Washington, Mark Meredith, Fox News.
It's the first time a British monarch has visited the States in nearly 20 years. King Charles lands in Washington, ready to meet with President Trump while on his 4-day tour. Fox's Caroline Elliott has more on the visit.
British royalty is back on American soil and just in time for the 250th anniversary of America's independence. President Trump hosting King Charles and Queen Camilla in Washington just days after a third assassination attempt. The royals landed at Joint Base Andrews and then, with respects to British tradition, joined President Trump and the First Lady for tea and a garden party at the British ambassador's residence. But for this soiree, hats are not required.
First Lady Melania Trump has led all of the preparation for the state visit, which will honor the long-standing and special relationship between the United States and the United Kingdom.
The rare appearance from the royals isn't just for sentimental reasons. King Charles plans to highlight the long-held alliance between the U.S. and the U.K. as global tensions rise over the war in Iran.
Our allies are very important to us. There has been some strained relations because of things happening internationally, but I think the King's visit is very perfectly timed.
President Trump has asked NATO countries for support in reopening the Strait of Hormuz, including the United Kingdom, which has served as a key ally for decades. But that call has gone unanswered.
And if NATO teaches us any one thing, and I hope you all watched, because they weren't there for us, we have to rely on ourselves.
On Tuesday, King Charles will deliver an address to Congress before traveling to New York City and Virginia. At New York, Caroline Elliott, Fox News.
Still to come on Fox 22 News at 10, our Jody Hersey was in Searsport to highlight a go-to craftsman for the ages. And in sports, the Red Sox make shocking changes over the weekend. We will be right back.
3 farmers have started their search for love. Now, the ladies head back to the farms.
What's that?
I'm in trouble. Farmer Wants a Wife. All new Tuesday on Fox.
From the heart of Maine, where rugged beauty meets timeless craftsmanship, Richard Henderson & Sons Masonry, taming the outdoors through groundwork, retaining walls and seawalls, building custom fireplaces that become the centerpiece of your home, crafting granite steps and patios that invite you outdoors, designing hardscapes that turn yards into living spaces, built to last, crafted for life. Richard Henderson & Sons Masonry, quality in every stone.
I'm Jim with Lowry Law. One of our clients was badly injured in a hit and run. I was able to work with the police and the DA's office to get him a $500,000 settlement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, I'm your go-to guy.
Who is the real Graham Plattner? He calls rural Mainers stupid and racist. Plattner says some Maine lobstermen are drug-addicted pieces of shit. He blames Maine's women for getting raped because he says they get up drunk. Graham Plattner even bragged about a Nazi tattoo on his chest. He calls it eminently reasonable. That's the real Graham Plattner. To be continued. Pine Tree Results Pack is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Welcome to outdoor living. Welcome to Granville Stone and Hearth. Goodness knows we've been cooped up long enough. Make plans now to enjoy the outside of your home, too. Come to Granville and see, touch, and imagine what you can do in your backyard. Light a path, light a fire, grill a meal, sit a bit. It's all in stock. There's a staycation right outside your door with expert help from Granville, one of the largest outdoor living suppliers in Maine. Granville Stone and Hearth, Main Road, Holden.
Cancer affects everyone, but there is hope at Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center's Champion the Cure Challenge, where every dollar raised helps patients in our own backyard. Make a difference. Walk, run, or cycle August 15th in Brewer. Visit ctcchallenge.org.
Operation Epic Fury is still intensifying, and now Iran is reaching out to Moscow and as the U.S. tightens its blockade in the Strait of Hormuz. Fox's Matt Finn has more from Dubai.
There's dysfunction in their system, which is making it harder to negotiate with them right now.
Marco Rubio says it's not clear who's in charge in Iran, and that's becoming a problem as negotiations ramp back up. The Secretary of State giving Fox an exclusive update on the peace talks just hours after Iran offered to back down in the Strait of Hormuz if the U.S. lifts its blockade and ends military operations. Rubio says it's not clear if that represents a genuine offer from Iran's real leaders.
They're deeply fractured internally. They're all hardliners in Iran. But there are hardliners who understand they have to run a country and an economy, and there are hardliners that are completely motivated by theology.
But Iran is also pursuing other diplomatic options. Its foreign minister met with Russian President Vladimir Putin on Monday, signaling a possible new support from Moscow.
We will do everything that serves your interests as well as the interests of all the people of the region.
And some experts say that could enable the Iranian regime to survive if major combat operations resume.
They believe eventually they'll recover, and they will be a threat again, maybe not during the Trump administration, but a subsequent administration.
Meanwhile, the White House is warning time is running out for the Iranians to make a deal.
The president's red lines with respect to Iran have been made very, very clear, not just to the American public, but also to them as well.
And President Trump tells Fox News that the American negotiators are not getting on 17-hour flights here to the Middle East. Instead, Iran can call Trump. In Dubai, Matt Finn, Fox News.
Severe weather has been sweeping across much of the country the past several days, with several major cities in the Midwest and mid-Mississippi Valley at risk of serious storms. Fox's Oliviana Calmas is in St. Louis with the latest.
In North Texas, the cleanup begins after tornadoes and severe storms rolled through the region, killing at least 2 people and injuring half a dozen others.
I heard it. I felt it. My whole house was shaking.
The back-to-back weekend storms displacing families, forcing Texas Governor Greg Abbott to issue a disaster declaration.
Everything's damaged that we have.
Across the southern plains, from Kansas through Texas, more severe weather. An estimated 27 million people were warned to be on alert at risk of hail, high winds, and more tornadoes. This after Oklahoma was hit hard by tornadoes last week.
We are so fortunate that we didn't have any loss of lives here because it was a major, major storm. You can see behind us the damage. It's just, it's unbelievable.
Meantime, in the southeast, record-breaking drought continues to fuel wildfires in southeast Georgia and northeast Florida, even as heavy rain allowed crews to make some progress.
We got the 2 most dangerous, biggest, problematic fires anywhere in the United States.
The fastest-growing wildfires, though, doubled in size over the weekend, forcing evacuations and destroying more than 100 homes.
It's such a gut-wrenching feeling. Being able to step out my grandma's backyard and see flames and stuff rolling over the top of the trees is absolutely insane.
And here in St. Louis, forecasters are warning of more widespread thunderstorms and the possibility of damaging winds and more tornadoes. In St. Louis, Missouri, Oliviana Calmes, Fox News.
Warmer spring weather is drawing more people outdoors, but some health and wildlife experts are raising red flags when it comes to ticks, citing an abnormally high amount of bites so far this season from the parasites. And if they are infected with disease, they can pass those on to us. Fox's Ted Lindner takes a closer look at the situation and how you can protect yourself.
An unusually high number of reported tick bites has a growing number of doctors nationwide concerned, with the CDC issuing an early advisory.
We're off to a strong start with it being a bad day here.
While cases of tick bites don't typically rise until May, early CDC data shows weekly ER visits for them are at their highest rates for this time of year since 2017. But not every bite results in Lyme disease, which is the most common across the Northeast, Mid-Atlantic, and Upper Midwest. Symptoms can include fever, fatigue, and headaches. And if left untreated, the infection can seriously impact the heart, nervous system, and joints.
I'd rather see a couple months worth of data before I say, wow, this is a crazy year for ticks and tick-borne diseases.
Several factors are at play, but many experts believe the warming climate is a big one.
There was a brief spike in adult tick activity, specifically black-legged tick activity here in southern New England, and we suspect that it was largely due to that warm spell we had for about a week or so on the heels of a very cold winter. So the ticks become active during that period. Coming out of winter, the adult ticks become active and they're large and conspicuous. After they wane and people kind of forget about that activity cycle, come the nymphal ticks, which are very, very small.
To prevent ticks from coming in contact with your skin, wildlife experts recommend avoiding tall grass, using repellents, and tucking pants into socks if going into the outdoors. Ted Lindner, Fox News.
On the business front, you can now turn to Spotify for your workouts. Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis has a look at that story and more in today's Fox Means Business.
Markets finished mixed for your Monday. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ continued to chase record highs while the Dow finished lower. Spotify bringing fitness to your listening library. The streaming platform is now partnering with Peloton to introduce guided workout experiences. Premium users in certain markets will gain access to a catalog of 1,400 ad-free on-demand classes. That catalog includes everything from outdoor runs to cardio and yoga with fan-favorite instructors like Ali Love and Rad Lopez. Shares of German sportswear maker Adidas moving higher, the jump coming as London Marathon winner Sebastian Sawe completed a sub-2-hour marathon wearing the brand's Adizero Adios Pro Evo 3 running shoes. The win gives Adidas a leg up on its rival Nike, which is set to release new versions of its marathon shoes later this year. And Johnson & Johnson is using artificial intelligence to cut the time it takes to generate new leads for developing drugs. The company says that discovering new products and bringing them to market using AI is not yet possible. Despite that, Johnson & Johnson says it's using the technology to screen the, quote, potential universe for promising chemical compounds, and that it has cut its lead optimization time in half. That's business. I'm Jerry Willis.
And just ahead, we have your full 5-day forecast.
Well, this was fun. High temperatures back in the 70s across the area today. Tomorrow, upper 60s, but then some big changes are on the way. Details on that when I come back.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Ready to create your backyard oasis? Alexander's Professional Landscaping will work with you to create your perfect outdoor space. Work one-on-one with our landscape designer to create a unique garden to fit your family's personal aesthetics and lifestyle. Have our pros install your new lawn, garden, or patio. Schedule a consultation today by calling 573-4497. Alexander's Professional Landscaping, the way landscaping should be.
You can't see third-hand smoke, but you may smell it. Third-hand smoke is toxic chemicals left behind by smoking and vaping. These chemicals stick to surfaces in your home and car and linger for years. They're on floors, furniture, toys. Everywhere children and pets touch and play. What you can't see can still cause harm. Protect your family from third-hand smoke. Visit MaineQuitling.com to learn the risks.
Got old metal and junk cars? Turn that clutter into cash at Daddy and Daughters. We make recycling easy, fast, and fair. From Skowhegan to Dover Foxcroft, from Troy to Lee, you can trust our certified scales and friendly service, offering top prices for junk vehicles in Maine. Whether you drop off or we pick up, Daddy and Daughters covers Central and Eastern Maine. Come see us at one of our 4 locations and watch your scrap pay off. Daddy and Daughters, turn scrap into cash.
Blazing Trails, located in Lincoln, is your #1 trusted caregiver storefront. From personalized consultations to the highest quality product, Blazing Trails provides outstanding patient services to Eastern and Central Maine. Discover how we're blazing the trails to quality holistic medicine.
Are you ready for this adventure?
Bear Grylls is Running Wild, all new Tuesdays on Fox.
All right, thank you, Iron Horse Motorcycle Lawyers. Ride smart. And we're talking weather out there for today, and some changes are on the way. Not immediately tomorrow, probably upper 60s again, followed by some changes on Wednesday into Thursday. So sunny 60s are back in the forecast for tomorrow. They have a shelf life, though, basically for tomorrow. And then 50s are back in the equation for Wednesday, with some rain showers in there probably Wednesday night into Thursday and Friday and Saturday, too, with a long duration event kind of on the way for us. But lows this morning, comfortably cool, right? 35 here in Bangor, 34 Millinocket, but a nice recovery today. Look at this, right? 72 here in Bangor today, 71 Millinocket, 68 for Greenville. We'll take this any day of the week, and here we are today, and close tomorrow too, before we get cooler on Wednesday into Thursday. And finally, we got some heat across the east here, right? But the problem with this is this over here. That is a cold surge of air into the Rockies once again. This This will end up sliding our direction, so that is going to begin to cool us off basically probably a Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And next week we could have lots of 50s for highs back in the forecast once again. The wind out there now basically out the south around 5 miles per hour. This will go calm for a couple hours tonight, and that could give us some dense fog in there as well. Waves out there though, 1 to 2 feet. That's rare for us, as you know. These will build a bit by tomorrow evening, but probably more so for Wednesday and Thursday with that weather feature in the area. For now though, there are no watches and warnings for anybody across the region, and you know that's kind of rare for us heading this time of the year. Okay, so lots of partly cloudy skies out there now. We'll have lots of clear skies overnight tonight. We'll have cool temperatures though. We got some lows down near 35 or 36 this evening. And then looking to the west, here comes our next problem. So here's tomorrow, high pressure, right? Nice day tomorrow. And then this thing kind of all moves in here later on Wednesday. It's a slow mover. There's several parts to it. It could give us some rain showers off and on Wednesday, into Thursday, into Friday, and Saturday with several events on the way there. Futurecast shows the clear skies out there tonight. Some dense fog is likely. And then throughout the day tomorrow, very nice day once again. And then increasing clouds tomorrow evening, likely giving us a couple of sprinkles by at least midday or so on Wednesday. And then more rains back in the forecast for us Thursday, into Friday, and Saturday. I know. Our forecast time for tonight, though, is lots of clear skies, low temperatures down mid-30s or so, and a calm wind late. There could be some dense fog in there as well. For tomorrow, sunny skies early, increasing clouds late. Kind of breezy. That southeast wind could pick up throughout the afternoon with highs back in the mid, even a few upper 60s across the region for tomorrow again. And then looking ahead, your 5-day forecast shows tomorrow is the warm day. Wednesday, a couple showers, 55. Thursday, same thing. More heavier rain on Thursday into Friday. And then here's the weekend, probably a couple of rain showers on Saturday before we kind of finally dry out on Sunday.
Thank you, Jeff. Folks, don't go anywhere. Sports is next.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
See the USA in your Chevrolet.
The best way to see the USA starts in a Chevy SUV with room for the whole family. Added peace of mind for every mile. And range to take you farther.
Get out there and see the USA, because right now, well-qualified buyers can get 3.9% financing for 60 months on all 2026 Equinox models. Plus, no monthly payments for 90 days.
Visit your main Chevy dealers.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
4 international territories compete for the title of Global Master Chef.
My 3 daughters are watching.
Tell them I say hi. Master Chef Global Gauntlet, all new Wednesdays on Fox.
Welcome back in, folks. We'll start with some breaking news. As of Monday night, our very own Cooper Flagg has been named NBA Rookie of the Year. Flagg just edging out his good friend and former Duke roommate Con Knippel as that late push paid off for Flagg, scoring 96 points in a weekend to cap off an incredible rookie season. He accepted the award with the NBC crew after the announcement.
Surreal. It's pretty cool. I mean, that's obviously the award that all the rookies come in, to their first year and, are searching out and wanting to get that, recognition. So I think, like Grant said, it just means a lot, and, I'm really blessed.
Coop, T-Mac here. I remember a time in my career where I was fighting for trying to win a scoring title against the late, great Kobe Bryant, and I was just watching him from afar. I was in the East, he was in the West. Did you do the same with your roommate, your college roommate, Con Knippel, where he was playing so well? Were you keeping an eye on how well he was playing just to make sure it motivated you to get this award?
For sure. I mean, I see the games, every night. I can check the box scores. I see it on Instagram, whatever. So But I think also, I was watching Khan just because, that's one of my brothers. We have such a good connection, and, we're going to be, there for each other for the rest of our lives. So I think I was watching him, as a fan as well, but there's obviously that competition at the same time.
The kid just wins. It seems to be as simple as that. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed their weekend, and boy, was it a wild one in the Boston sports world. So wild, we didn't even have time to talk Patriots draft, but we'll start with the bombshell of the weekend on the diamond. Saturday, the Boston Red Sox fired manager and 2018 World Series champion Alex Cora after 8 seasons with the Sox. They also let go 5 key staff members as well, including Jason Varitek, who they said reassigned. I'm not sure he's going to accept the reassignment. The move came as a shock to baseball fans, not necessarily because of the firing itself, given that the Sox were off to a disappointing 10-17 start, but more so shocked at the timing. Firing a manager just 27 games into the season is extremely rare in the MLB, but Sox Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow says it was to try and get the most out of this season.
Ultimately, responsibility for the performance on the field, it falls on me as the leader of the baseball operation, but so too does the responsibility for doing everything that I can and everything that the organization can to find solutions. And right now, we feel like this change, these changes were warranted. Certainly, the performance on the field has not been what we expected. And beyond that, again, this is a decisive, and convicted demonstration of the confidence we have in our player group.
As for that player group, they were shocked to get the news, just like the fans, that their manager had been fired after Saturday's 17-1 win. That emotion was evident before Sunday's 5-3 win, especially from Trevor Story, who was not impressed by the front office's explanation to the players.
It's one of those things where we're humans first, so the personal relationships, the friendships, like the relationships that you build, those don't just go away because they're not here anymore. And so I think the biggest thing is they made it very clear that, hey, y'all's job is baseball players, play baseball. And so it was one of those things where that's how we have to go about it.
They spoke. Yeah, they spoke. And there just has to be more conversations had. So I wouldn't say it was satisfactory.
The Sox have responded. They're 2-0 since the firing, but we might as well stay with the bad and go to TD Garden, where the Bruins got embarrassed in Game 4 of their series with the Sabres on Sunday. The Bees fell to Buffalo 6-1 in a pivotal Game 4, which puts them down 3-1 in the series. The game felt over before it even started on Sunday, as Boston went down 3-0 within the first 11 minutes, allowing 3 goals off 2 turnovers and a penalty. They now have a massive mountain to climb if they want to advance to the second round, as only 3 teams have come back from being down 3-1 since 2020. Here was Charlie McAvoy after Sunday's loss.
We're going to have to go back and watch it. I think maybe, there were some bad bounces, but I just don't think we executed well.
Charlie, just how do you explain that performance?
I don't know. I don't have any answers right now. It was just an embarrassing performance. We picked a bad time to have one of those, but, we're not out of this thing yet, so, we got to remember that, and we got to reset here quick.
Well, how about finally get to the good stuff? You trade an embarrassing Bruins loss for an embarrassing Celtics win. The Seas rolled over the 76ers on Sunday night, 128-96, to take a 3-1 series lead, and this one was never close. Jaylen Brown scored 20, Jason Tatum scored 30. Peyton Pritchard actually led the way for the Celtics, scoring 32 while coming off the bench, as the guard from Oregon continues to make the case that he's one of the best contracts in the NBA.
It's a good feeling, but it's more of a flow state. I like to say it's like when you get in that flow state, it's the rhythm of how you're dribbling, the moves you can get to, in the shot making, obviously. But it's a good feeling. But I try to, in my workouts, I try to hit that on a daily. So then when I get in the games, it's a regular thing.
If Pritchard can keep playing like that, the Celtics are in a very good spot this postseason. For now, that's all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Car accidents can be scary. It can feel like the whole world is crashing down around you. hurt in a car accident, I'm on top of it. I'm your go-to guy.
Call 222-2222.
Still dealing with moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's disease symptoms despite treatment?
Then you know there can be unpredictability.
Workarounds. And avoiding.
It was time to make a change.
I changed. I changed too.
My doctor recommended Rinvoq, a once-daily pill.
I got rapid symptom relief at 2 weeks. Check. Rinvoq helped visibly repair my intestinal lining. Check.
I got lasting remission, meaning few to no symptoms. Check.
Rinvoq can lower ability to fight infections. Before treatment, test for TB and do blood work. Serious infections, blood clots, some fatal. Cancers including lymphoma and skin. Serious allergic reactions, GI tears, death, heart attack, and stroke occurred. CV event risk increases in age 50 plus with a heart disease risk factor. Tell your doctor if you've had these events, infection, Hep B or C, smoked, are pregnant or planning. Don't take if allergic or have an infection.
Put UC and Crohn's in check and keep them there with Rinvoq.
Ask your gastroenterologist about Rinvoq.
I'm feeling like I'm on my way. The kids outside, they play all day, having a good day. The beautiful sun is shining, still grinding, watching the people play. The families all
loaded with features and space to enjoy them. How it should be. The Hyundai Kona.
Lease an all-wheel drive Hyundai Kona SE for $139 a month or get 3.49% APR for 60 months. Hurry in.
Looking for a welcoming place where quality and care meet? Come to the Cheese House in Fairfield, your local shop for premium herbs, wellness products, and friendly guidance. Whether you're curious or experienced, our knowledgeable team takes the time to help you find exactly what works for you with respect and no judgment. Visit us today at 5 Pike Drive. The Cheese House. Quality, community, care. We're here for you.
We have a game-changing twist.
Fox Wednesdays.
Whoever wins the most duels,
Fire.
turkey legs, spray tan, earns the territory freeze.
Is the best advantage the floor has ever had.
The Floor is all new Wednesdays on Fox and watch anytime on Hulu.
We're ready for baseball, and off we go.
Major League Baseball, all season long on Fox.
Spotify continuing to venture beyond just music on its platform, partnering up with Peloton to offer fitness classes on the app. As you heard a little bit before, a new deal will make more than 1,400 Peloton classes available to Spotify premium subscribers, including strength training, Pilates, barre, yoga, meditation, and more. Now, the financial terms of the deal have yet to be disclosed. For Spotify, it's a move into health and wellness categories, keeping users on the app longer, and Peloton increasing its reach to more accessible fitness classes that don't require customers to buy equipment. Well, an action, horror, fantasy, a sci-fi thriller, and a country music star are among the new digital DVD and music releases available to add to your home library. Fox's Ashley Dvorkin runs down the list of what's new in home entertainment.
Is that enough to kill a monster?
The action horror fantasy Dust Bunny tops this week's list of new home releases. Mads Mikkelsen stars as a hitman drawn into a young girl's terrifying claim a monster under her bed destroyed her family.
We're so happy you all joined us tonight for a family dinner.
The sci-fi horror thriller Humane follows a family dinner which spirals into chaos after a father volunteers for a government euthanasia program.
I messed up. Borrowed from the wrong people.
Available on digital, Odyssey follows a successful London real estate broker pulled into a dangerous criminal underworld as mounting debt forces her into risky alliances.
Tonight, you are the offering.
Also available on digital, They Will Kill You, following a young woman fighting to survive a night inside a deadly cult's lair. The high-octane horror action comedy will be available on 4K Ultra HD, Blu-ray, and DVD June 30th.
The witch problem isn't going away, folks.
Small screen favorites include Season 2 of Sanctuary, A Witch's Tale, set in an English town where witches have long lived in peace until rising tensions threaten their place in society. In music, Casey Musgraves releases her 6th album, Middle of Nowhere. Singer-songwriter Tori Amos delivers In Times of Dragons. Actress Maya Hawke drops her 4th record, Maitreya Corso. Former Spice Girls member Melanie C delivers her 9th solo record, Sweat. Rock band Young the Giant release Victory Garden, and the Black Keys lean into their blues rock roots with Peaches. In Hollywood, Ashley Dvorkin, Fox News.
The fast-developing adoption of AI in the job market has college students in search of majors that will hold up over time. Recent Gallup polling found more skepticism among Gen Z about AI's value, with nearly half, or 48%, saying the risks of AI in the workforce outweigh the benefits. The biggest impact has been to computer science and other tech-related fields. A 2025 poll by the Institute of Politics at the Harvard Kennedy School found about 70% of college students see AI as a major threat to their job prospects. Experts say soft skills, people skills, and problem solving will become more important as the job market evolves. Blacksmiths, woodworkers, and boat builders couldn't do their jobs if they didn't have the right tools. And no one knows that better than Jeff Pearson. He's the owner of the Swan Lake Tool Barn. And as Jody Hersey found out, it's a go-to shop for craftsmen of any age.
Main axe, snow annealing axe.
Years ago, Jeff Pearson of Searsport worked as a shipwright, repairing and maintaining the vessel he was on.
I started buying and selling stuff because I got interested and I had to buy tools for that trade.
These days, you'll find him inside the Swan Lake Tool Barn, where he sells and repairs a lot of useful tools needed by blacksmiths, boat builders, and other craftsmen.
I do sell some stuff to collectors, but most of it's to users. And I get people coming back, months later saying, geez, I cleaned that tool up and sharpened it, and I love using it.
He's even designed his own wooden mallet.
Live oak mallet that I make because it's getting harder to find the old ones.
Pearson loves architectural salvage too. You'll find everything from wrought iron chandeliers to some unexpected treasures at his business.
Did you make this too?
I did.
Wow.
I just need to find somebody that's got the right log cabin.
A local craftsman who can find a use for just about anything, and a tool that can make it as good as new.
I don't have any retirement plan. This is probably what I'll do the rest of my life.
In Searsport, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
A true craftsman indeed. Well, the Swan Lake Tool Barn is open Saturdays, noon until 4 p.m. or by appointment. And that is going to do it for us, folks, from everyone here at Fox 22 News. Take care and have a great rest of your night. We'll see you right back here tomorrow.
For more local news coverage, switch over to our sister station, ABC 7, right now for ABC 7 News at 11.
actor, director, and comedian Anthony Anderson on a new Jimmy Kimmel Live later tonight.
Cassie, she's gonna love it.
The whole station knows you're gonna propose. You got a day before Lucy finds out.
LAPD is transferring Heath Everett to the courthouse downtown.
I watched him murder a man in cold blood.
All right, here we go. Protect the prisoner at all costs.
This is ABC 7 News at 11.